The tomb only opens for alien royal bloodline. So why did it unlock when the human sneezed? Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. The ancient Zeltarian tomb stood silent on the barren moon, its entrance sealed for 10,000 years by biolocs that would recognize only the royal bloodline. Now it was surrounded by the most sophisticated xenoarchaeological team in the galaxy and one very out-of-place human janitor. Step aside, maintenance staff. This is a critical moment in galactic history, said lead archaeologist Drazak, his scaled skin shimmering in the light of 3 distant stars. His team of 12 elite scientists had spent 3 years tracking down this legendary tomb of Emperor Zeltaris, said to contain technological marvels beyond imagination. The human janitor, Tyler Grant, nodded apologetically and shuffled backward. He was only here because the research vessel's regular maintenance staff had caught some strange alien virus. The Galactic Heritage Foundation had reluctantly allowed him to fill in temporarily, making it abundantly clear that he was to clean, stay quiet, and touch absolutely nothing. Initiating Bloodline Authentication Protocol, announced Drazak, his voice echoing across the moon's thin atmosphere. Only those carrying the genetic markers of the royal house of Zelta may pass. The assembled scientists watched in reverent silence as Drazak, who had traced his own lineage back to a minor Zeltarian noble house, placed his 6-fingered hand on the ancient biosensor panel. The tomb's entrance, a massive stone slab engraved with symbols of unimaginable age, remained stubbornly shut. Perhaps the genetic markers have degraded over time, suggested archaeologist Farine, her luminous eyes blinking in the scientific equivalent of disappointment. We should recalibrate our approach. Tyler tried to fade into the background as the scientists debated complex theories involving genetic drift and evolutionary divergence. His job was simply to keep the base camp clean and ensure the life support systems remained operational while the experts did the real work. Humans were still relatively new to the galactic community, and most species regarded them as primitive curiosities at best. The tomb sensors might require a higher concentration of royal markers, theorized Drazak, applying a genetic amplifier to his palm before trying again. Nothing happened. One by one, each scientist with even the faintest claim to Zeltarian ancestry attempted to activate the entrance. For hours, they tried increasingly sophisticated methods, genetic amplifiers, resonance tuners, even attempting to synthetically replicate what they believed were the key genetic markers of the royal line. The tomb remained sealed. Tyler, meanwhile, had been working diligently in the background, cleaning equipment and organizing supplies. The moon's surface was covered in a fine, irritating dust that seemed to get everywhere. As he moved a stack of containers, a small cloud of the dust rose into the air. "Oh, achoo!" The thunderous sneeze echoed across the barren landscape, causing several scientists to jump in surprise. Tyler wiped his nose embarrassedly, about to apologize, when a low rumbling sound cut him off. The massive stone entrance to the tomb began to move. Silence fell over the assembled researchers as the ancient door slid smoothly open, revealing a darkened passage beyond. Every eye turned to Tyler, who stood frozen with a cleaning cloth still in his hand. "Impossible," whispered Drazak, his scales flattening in shock. "The human janitor has royal Zeltarian blood?" gasped Farine, her bioluminescent spots flashing in disbelief. Tyler looked as confused as everyone else. I don't know what happened. It must be a coincidence." "There are no coincidences with 10,000-year-old biolock tombs," stated senior archaeologist Morvan, his tentacles twitching with scientific excitement. "The tomb has recognized something in you, human." Drazak strode over to Tyler, looming over him with an intimidating height advantage. "You will explain this immediately." "I really don't know," Tyler insisted, backing away slightly. "I've never even heard of Zeltarians before this expedition." The scientific team immediately broke into factions, some insisting on running genetic tests on Tyler, others demanding he be removed from the site entirely, and a small group theorizing that perhaps the tomb had malfunctioned after millennia of disuse. "We must proceed with caution," Drazak finally declared, bringing the arguments to a halt. "The human will remain here under observation while we conduct preliminary exploration of the entrance chamber." Tyler found himself surrounded by monitoring equipment as the scientists began carefully documenting the tomb's entrance. Vereen approached him with a sophisticated genetic sampling device. "This won't hurt," she assured him, pressing the device against his arm. "We just need to understand what triggered the recognition protocols." As the scientists busied themselves with preparations, Tyler noticed something odd about the symbols around the tomb entrance. They seemed to shift slightly when he looked at them directly, as if responding to his gaze. He blinked, wondering if the alien atmosphere was affecting his vision. "Preliminary team, prepare to enter," announced Drazak, selecting 4 researchers to accompany him. Everyone else maintained positions and continue analysis. The 5 scientists approached the darkened entrance, illuminating the way with advanced lighting drones. Tyler watched from his position, still surrounded by monitoring equipment, as they disappeared into the ancient structure. Exactly 6 minutes later, all 5 scientists came running out in a state of panic. "Defense systems," gasped Drazak, his usual composed demeanor shattered. "The tomb has activated ancient defense systems." Behind them, mechanical sounds echoed from within the tomb, clicking, whirring, and a steady rhythmic beat that sounded uncomfortably like massive footsteps. "We need to seal the entrance," shouted Vereen, rushing to the control panel they had established. "The override isn't responding," called back another scientist. "The tomb systems are ignoring our commands." Tyler watched in horror as a massive mechanical guardian emerged from the darkness of the tomb, a construct of metal and energy, shaped vaguely like a Zeltarian, but 3 times larger and bristling with weapons that looked deadly despite their age. "Unauthorized genetic signatures detected," boomed the Guardian in an ancient dialect that somehow everyone understood. "Purge protocols initiated." The scientists scattered as the Guardian raised an arm that transformed into what was unmistakably a weapon. Energy built up at its tip, glowing with increasing intensity. "Wait!" Tyler found himself shouting, stepping forward without thinking. "Stop!" To everyone's astonishment, the Guardian froze mid-action. Its glowing sensors turned toward Tyler. "Royal Command recognized," it stated, lowering its weapon arm. "Awaiting instructions, Your Highness." The scientists stared in disbelief, first at the Guardian, then at Tyler. "This is unprecedented," whispered Drazak, his scientific curiosity overcoming his recent terror. "The Guardian responded to your voice command." Tyler stood motionless, afraid that any movement might trigger the Guardian to resume its attack. Guardian, stand down completely. No purge protocols." "As you command," the Guardian responded, folding back into a less threatening stance. Drazak approached Tyler cautiously. "You must have some connection to the Zeltarian royal line. There is no other explanation." "But I'm human," Tyler protested. "My family has been on Earth for generations. We're nobody special, just farmers and factory workers." "Perhaps," suggested Vereen, who had been analyzing the genetic sample she'd taken earlier, "there is something else at work here. The genetic markers I'm detecting are unusual." Drazak turned to her sharply. "Unusual how?" "They're not Zeltarian," she explained, her bioluminescent spots pulsing with excitement. "At least, not in any form we'd recognize. But they're triggering the same recognition patterns that royal Zeltarian DNA would." "A convergent genetic evolution?" suggested another scientist. "Or something far more interesting," Vereen continued. "What if humans and Zeltarians share a common ancestor? Or what if the Zeltarian royal line itself had its origins elsewhere?" The implications hung in the air, momentarily silencing even the most talkative researchers. Tyler took a hesitant step toward the Guardian, which remained perfectly still. "Can you tell me why the tomb recognized me?" he asked it directly. The Guardian's sensors flickered. "You carry the breath of creation, as did the Emperor. The tomb recognizes what it was built to protect." "The breath of creation?" repeated Drazak. What does that mean? The Guardian did not respond to him, keeping its sensors fixed on Tyler. What is the breath of creation? Tyler asked. It is what made the Emperor ruler of 1,000 worlds, the Guardian replied. It is what flows through your biological patterns, human. It is why you are here. Tyler felt a strange sensation, as if the Guardian's words were triggering memories he'd never formed. I don't understand, he said. You will, the Guardian responded. The Emperor awaits. With that cryptic statement, the Guardian turned and moved back into the tomb. After a few steps, it stopped and looked back, clearly expecting Tyler to follow. This is extraordinary, breathed Razak, already recording everything with multiple devices. The tomb's AI must contain historical information thought lost for millennia. I don't think I should go in there, Tyler said, looking nervously at the dark passage. The Guardian has recognized you as having royal authority, Vereen pointed out. This could be the archaeological discovery of the millennium. And if we lose this opportunity, added Drazak, suddenly all business again. The Galactic Heritage Foundation will hold you personally responsible, human. Tyler sighed. His temporary contract had seemed so straightforward. Clean the base, maintain the equipment, stay out of the way. Now he was apparently being mistaken for alien royalty by ancient technology. Fine, he conceded. But some of you are coming with me. I'm not facing whatever's in there alone. Drazak quickly assembled a team, himself, Vereen, and 2 other senior researchers. The rest of you, maintain communication links and be prepared to document everything, he ordered. As they approached the entrance, Tyler felt a strange tingling sensation across his skin. The symbols carved into the walls seemed to glow faintly as he passed them. The tomb is responding to your presence, noted Vereen, scanners whirring. These energy patterns are unlike anything in our records. Following the Guardian, they moved deeper into the tomb. The passageway widened into a vast chamber filled with technological artifacts that defied immediate classification. Some appeared to be weapons, others looked like navigation systems, and still others were completely mysterious. This technology, gasped one of the scientists, it's at least 3 development phases beyond anything in the current galactic catalog. At the center of the chamber stood what appeared to be a sarcophagus, but it looked more like a stasis pod than a burial container. The Guardian stopped before it and turned to Tyler. The Emperor awaits, it repeated. You mean there's someone alive in there? Tyler asked, a chill running down his spine. Not alive as you understand it, the Guardian replied. But not dead as you fear it. Drazak pushed forward, his scientific excitement overriding caution. This could be a preserved Zeltarian royal, possibly with intact genetic material. The research potential is incalculable. As they approached the sarcophagus, Tyler noticed more symbols illuminating in response to his proximity. The sensation of familiarity grew stronger, as if he was remembering something rather than experiencing it for the first time. Only the one with the breath may open the Emperor's resting place, intoned the Guardian. All eyes turned to Tyler. Just to be clear, he said nervously, I'm just a janitor. I have no idea what's going on here. The tomb obviously disagrees, said Vereen gently. Something in your genetic makeup is triggering these ancient systems. Tyler reluctantly approached the sarcophagus. Its surface was smooth and slightly translucent, revealing a shadowy figure within. There was no obvious opening mechanism. How am I supposed to? He began, but stopped when he noticed a small panel near the top of the sarcophagus. It looked similar to the biosensor at the tomb's entrance. With a deep breath, Tyler placed his hand on the panel. Nothing happened. Perhaps another sneeze is required, suggested Drazak, not entirely joking. Tyler was about to respond when he felt something strange, a tickling sensation in his nose, exactly like the prelude to a sneeze. The moon dust must have followed them inside. Oh, achoo! The sound echoed through the chamber, and immediately the sarcophagus began to glow. Lines of energy raced across its surface, and the top slowly became transparent, revealing the figure inside. It wasn't a Zeltarian. The being in the sarcophagus looked remarkably human. Impossible, whispered Drazak, scales flattening in shock. The figure's eyes opened, revealing irises of an impossible color that seemed to shift between all spectrums of light. Those eyes fixed immediately on Tyler. "At last," said the Emperor, his voice resonating directly in their minds rather than through the air. "Another breather has come." Tyler stood frozen, staring at the being who appeared almost human, yet radiated an energy that felt ancient and powerful. "I don't understand," Tyler managed to say. "Who are you? What's a breather?" The Emperor sat up smoothly, the stasis field around him dissipating. "I am Zeltaris, though that was not my original name. And you, like me, carry the breath of creation, the genetic key that allows direct manipulation of quantum probability." The scientists were frantically recording everything, their devices whirring and beeping. "You're saying you're human?" Tyler asked in disbelief. "Not human as you understand it," Zeltaris replied. "But we share origins far more ancient than this young galaxy. The ones you call humans are descendants of my people, though much diminished in ability." "This contradicts all established xenoarchaeological records," protested Drazak, though his voice betrayed his fascination. Zeltaris turned his impossible eyes to the alien scientist. "Your records are incomplete, as all records eventually become. The truth is far stranger than your sciences have yet discovered." He turned back to Tyler. "When you sneezed, you unconsciously released a burst of quantum manipulation energy, the breath of creation. Few of your kind retain even this weak ability. In my time, we could reshape reality with a thought." "This is insane," Tyler said, backing away slightly. "I'm just a normal guy. I clean things for a living." "And yet," said Zeltaris with a smile that somehow conveyed both amusement and sadness, "you opened a tomb sealed for 10,000 years, commanded an Imperial Guardian, and awakened me from temporal stasis. These are not the actions of just a normal guy." Before Tyler could respond, the entire tomb shuddered. Dust fell from the ceiling, and distant alarms began to sound. "The Guardian's energy signature has been detected," announced Vereen, checking her communications device. "A Zeltarian separatist ship has entered orbit. They're demanding we surrender the tomb and all its contents." "Separatists?" asked Tyler. "Religious extremists who believe they are the only true heirs to Zeltarian legacy," explained Drazak grimly. "They've been searching for this tomb for centuries. And now they have found it," said Zeltaris, rising fully from the sarcophagus. "They seek the breath technology, believing it will make them as gods." Another tremor shook the tomb. "They're using orbital weapons," reported Vereen. "They're targeting the moon's surface directly above us." "We need to evacuate," insisted Drazak. "There is no time," said Zeltaris calmly. "But perhaps there is another way." He turned to Tyler. "The breath flows weakly in you, but it flows nonetheless. Together, we might be strong enough." "Strong enough for what?" asked Tyler, increasingly certain he was in way over his head. "To shift probability," replied Zeltaris. "To ensure our survival against overwhelming odds." Another, stronger tremor rocked the chamber. Parts of the ceiling began to collapse. "I don't know how to do whatever it is you're talking about," Tyler protested. "You do," insisted Zeltaris. "It is written in your very cells. You demonstrated it when you sneezed, a reflex action that momentarily focused your ability. Now we must do it consciously." Tyler looked at the scientists, who were huddled together as the tomb continued to shake around them. He thought of the research vessel above, with its crew unaware of the danger. Whatever was happening, people were going to die if something wasn't done. "What do I need to do?" he asked Zeltaris. The ancient emperor smiled, a surprisingly human expression. "Breathe with me." Zeltaris stood before Tyler, his eyes shifting through impossible colors as another blast rocked the ancient tomb. Chunks of stone fell from the ceiling as the separatist bombardment intensified. "Focus your mind," instructed Zeltaris, placing his hands on Tyler's shoulders. "Imagine the air around you as a sea of possibilities, each breath drawing in potential realities." "I really don't think I can," Tyler began, but Zeltaris cut him off. "You opened this tomb with an accidental release of your ability. Imagine what you might do with purpose." The scientists huddled together as the bombardment continued. Varine's communication device crackled with panicked messages from the research vessel above. Separatist ships have surrounded our vessel, she reported grimly. They're demanding surrender. Tyler closed his eyes, trying to focus as Zeltaris had instructed. He felt ridiculous. He was a janitor, not some lost alien royal with reality-bending powers. But the tomb had opened when he sneezed. The Guardian had obeyed him. Something was definitely happening that defied rational explanation. I feel something, Tyler admitted. Like static electricity all over my skin. Yes, encouraged Zeltaris. That is the field of quantum possibility responding to your awareness. Now, breathe in deeply. Tyler inhaled, and with that breath came a strange sensation, as if he could perceive countless versions of this moment, all existing simultaneously. Now exhale with intent, Zeltaris instructed. Visualize the outcome you desire. Tyler exhaled, focusing on a simple wish, safety for everyone in the tomb. As his breath left his body, he felt a wave of energy pass through him, spreading outward. The bombardment suddenly stopped. The separatist ships, reported Varine, checking her device in disbelief. They're retreating? No, not retreating. They're responding to some kind of distress call from the other side of the moon. Drazak looked at Tyler with new respect and more than a little fear. What did you do, human? I just wanted us to be safe, Tyler said, feeling slightly dizzy. You shifted probability, explained Zeltaris. Of all the possible outcomes in this moment, you increased the likelihood of one where our enemies were drawn away. But I didn't make them receive a distress call, protested Tyler. You didn't need to create the specific circumstance, Zeltaris said. The universe is filled with potential incidents at all times. You simply made one more likely to occur at precisely the moment we needed it. Tyler's mind reeled at the implications. That's impossible. And yet, said Drazak, checking sensor readings, the Separatist fleet has indeed changed course to investigate something on the far side of this moon. Zeltaris nodded. The breath of creation doesn't violate physical laws. It works within them, but at a quantum level few beings ever learn to perceive, let alone manipulate. But they'll be back, won't they? Asked Tyler. Once they realize there's nothing there? Indeed, confirmed Zeltaris. We've gained minutes, perhaps an hour at most. We must use this time wisely. The ancient emperor turned toward the rear of the chamber, gesturing for everyone to follow. Beyond the sarcophagus lay another passage, previously hidden by optical camouflage that deactivated at Zeltaris's approach. This tomb was never meant to be my final resting place, he explained as they walked. It was a sanctuary where I could wait until another breather emerged among the scattered descendants of my people. You're saying humans are descended from your species? Asked Varine, recording everything. In a manner of speaking, replied Zeltaris. My kind seeded many worlds, and on some, our descendants evolved along different paths. Your humans retained a spark of the breath, though it lies dormant in most. They entered a vast circular chamber dominated by what appeared to be a ship, sleek and impossibly smooth, its surface rippling like liquid metal while maintaining solid form. The probability vessel, announced Zeltaris with evident pride, designed to navigate the currents of quantum reality itself. This technology is beyond anything in our records, breathed Drazak, his scientific excitement overwhelming his earlier fear. Because it is not technology as you understand it, said Zeltaris. It is an extension of the breath, a physical manifestation of our ability to manipulate quantum probability. Tyler approached the vessel cautiously. As he drew near, its surface rippled more intensely, responding to his presence. It recognizes you, noted Zeltaris with satisfaction. Even after 10,000 years, it awaits a breather's command. I can't fly this thing, protested Tyler. I can barely drive a hovercart. You won't fly it in the conventional sense, Zeltaris explained. You will breathe it to its destination. Before Tyler could question this cryptic statement, Varine's communication device beeped urgently. The Separatists have realized there was no distress call, she reported. They're returning, and they've called for reinforcements. We must leave immediately, declared Zeltaris. "The vessel can carry all of us to safety." "What about the research team on the surface?" asked Tyler. "And the crew on our ship?" Zeltaris's expression grew serious. "The Separatists will show them no mercy. If they cannot have the tomb and its secrets, they will ensure no one else can either." Tyler felt a weight of responsibility settle over him. Somehow, he'd become central to a situation that threatened dozens of innocent lives. "Can we get everyone?" he asked Zeltaris. "All the researchers, the ship's crew, everyone?" "The vessel can accommodate them," confirmed Zeltaris. "But we would need to reach them quickly before the Separatists return in force." "Then let's do that," Tyler decided. Zeltaris smiled, a surprisingly warm, human expression. "You have the heart of a true breather. Compassion was always our greatest strength." The ancient emperor placed his hand on the vessel's hull, and an opening appeared, revealing a spacious interior with control surfaces unlike any conventional ship. "Quickly," he urged as another distant explosion rocked the tomb. "The Separatists have begun their bombardment again." The scientists hurried aboard, followed by Tyler and Zeltaris. Inside, the vessel's walls were translucent, offering a 360-degree view of their surroundings while maintaining structural integrity. "There are no conventional controls," noted Drazak, examining the interior. "It doesn't need them," replied Zeltaris, guiding Tyler to a central platform. "Stand here. Focus your thoughts on the research base on the surface. Visualize it clearly." Tyler closed his eyes, picturing the prefabricated structures of the research base. He'd spent weeks cleaning every corner of it. He knew its layout intimately. "Now breathe in the possibility of being there," instructed Zeltaris, "and exhale with the certainty that we are." Tyler drew a deep breath, feeling that strange sensation of expanded awareness once more. As he exhaled, focusing on the research base, he felt a momentary disorientation. When he opened his eyes, the vessel had moved. They were hovering directly above the research base, where a dozen startled scientists were frantically packing equipment. "Incredible," whispered Vereen. "We moved instantaneously." "Not quite," corrected Zeltaris. "We shifted through probability space rather than physical space. The distinction is subtle but important." Tyler was still processing what had just happened when Vereen's communication device activated. "This is Captain Lorne of the research vessel Galileo," came an urgent voice. "All personnel prepare for emergency evacuation. Separatist warships approaching." "Can we reach the Galileo next?" asked Tyler, already focusing on the ship as he'd seen it from the surface. "Yes," confirmed Zeltaris. "But we should bring aboard the surface team first." A section of the vessel's hull became transparent, then permeable, creating a doorway. Drazak called out to his colleagues below, who looked up in astonishment at the hovering craft. "Hurry," he shouted. "This is our only chance." The surface team didn't need to be told twice. Within minutes, all 12 researchers had scrambled aboard, bringing essential data cores but leaving most equipment behind. "The Galileo now," instructed Zeltaris as the hull sealed once more. "Visualize it clearly." Tyler focused on the research vessel, a conventional ship he'd arrived on 3 weeks earlier. Again he breathed in possibility, exhaled certainty, and the world shifted around them. They materialized beside the Galileo, which was already firing defensive measures against approaching separatist fighters. "Open a communication channel," Zeltaris told Vereen, who quickly complied. "Galileo, this is xenoarchaeologist Vereen. We have the entire surface team aboard an unconventional vessel. We can evacuate your crew before the separatists arrive in force." "Unidentified vessel," responded Captain Lorne, her voice tense. "Our sensors can't even categorize your ship. What exactly are you offering?" "Safety, Captain," replied Zeltaris, taking over the communication. "Your conventional engines cannot outrun the separatist fleet. We can transport your entire crew instantaneously beyond their reach." A brief silence followed as the captain considered this extraordinary claim against the very visible threat of the approaching warships. "We have 23 crew members," she finally responded. "Can your vessel accommodate that many?" "It can," confirmed Zeltaris. and more if necessary. The vessel adapts to its occupancy requirements. Another explosion rocked the Galileo as a separatist weapon found its mark. Hull breach on Deck 3. Came a panicked report in the background of the transmission. Shields failing. Very well, decided Captain Lorne. Commencing emergency evacuation to your vessel. Stand by. Tyler watched as the probability vessel's hull once again became permeable, extending an access tunnel that connected with the Galileo's emergency airlock. Within minutes, the research ship's crew began pouring through, many looking injured or shell-shocked. Captain Lorne came last, a tall woman with close-cropped gray hair and the bearing of someone used to command. She took in the impossible interior of the vessel with a quick, assessing gaze before focusing on Zeltaris. You're not from any species registered with the Galactic Council, she stated rather than asked. No, confirmed Zeltaris. My existence predates your council by several millennia. Before the conversation could continue, the Galileo's hull ruptured spectacularly as concentrated separatist fire tore through its weakened shields. The research vessel began to break apart. We need to leave, urged Drazak. Where can we go that the separatists won't follow? That depends, said Zeltaris, turning to Tyler, on how far our young breather is willing to stretch his newfound abilities. All eyes turned to Tyler, who felt the weight of responsibility settle even heavier on his shoulders. Somehow, in the span of a few hours, he'd gone from being a replacement janitor to the last hope for over 30 people. I'll do whatever I can, he said simply. Just tell me what I need to do. Zeltaris nodded approvingly. The separatists seek the breath technology, believing it will make them invincible. We must deny them that opportunity by removing all traces of it from this system. You mean destroy the tomb? Asked Drazak, aghast. That's an archaeological treasure of incalculable value. It is also a weapon of incalculable power in the wrong hands, countered Zeltaris. The choice is clear. Captain Lorne stepped forward. As the ranking Galactic Council official present, I concur. Security protocols for Class 9 hazardous technology are explicit. Drazak looked like he might protest further, but instead nodded reluctantly. How do we destroy it? Asked Tyler. The separatists are already landing troops on the surface. We don't need to destroy it ourselves, explained Zeltaris. We simply need to create the conditions where its destruction becomes the most probable outcome. He guided Tyler back to the central platform. Focus on the tomb. Visualize it clearly. Tyler closed his eyes, recalling the ancient structure in detail. Now, continued Zeltaris, imagine the separatist ships surrounding it. See their weapons, their energy signatures. Tyler concentrated, bringing to mind the attacking fleet as he'd glimpsed it from the vessel. Finally, instructed Zeltaris, his voice taking on a resonant quality that seemed to vibrate inside Tyler's mind. Breathe in the possibility that the tomb's ancient power cells become unstable in the presence of the separatists' energy weapons. Tyler inhaled deeply, feeling the now familiar expansion of awareness. Countless potential realities seemed to unfold before his mind's eye. Exhale certainty, whispered Zeltaris. Tyler breathed out, focusing on the scenario Zeltaris had described. As his breath left his body, he felt something shift in the fabric of reality around them. Through the vessel's transparent hull, they witnessed a blinding flash from the moon's surface. A shock wave expanded outward, engulfing several separatist ships before they could raise shields. The tomb's power core, explained Zeltaris, designed to self-destruct if ever compromised. You simply encourage that design feature to activate. I caused that explosion, asked Tyler, horrified at the destruction. You increased the probability of an existing fail-safe mechanism activating, corrected Zeltaris. The separatists' own actions triggered it. Captain Lorne was already organizing the refugees, creating a headcount and assessing injuries. The separatist fleet is in disarray, but they'll regroup soon. We need a destination, somewhere beyond their reach. I know a place, said Zeltaris. A world where my people established a sanctuary long ago. It exists in a probability fold, difficult to detect or reach through conventional means. Can we get there? Asked Tyler. With your help? Yes, confirmed Zeltaris. But it will require a greater exertion of the breath than you've attempted thus far. Tyler looked around at the frightened faces of the scientists and crew, people who were now depending on him. I'll try. Don't try, corrected Zeltaris gently. No, certainty is the key to the breath's power. He placed his hands on Tyler's shoulders once more. I will guide you. Together, our breath will be strong enough. Tyler closed his eyes, feeling Zeltaris's consciousness touch his own, not invasively, but supportively, like a steadying hand for someone learning to walk. Breathe in all possibilities, instructed Zeltaris, his voice seeming to come from both outside and inside Tyler's mind simultaneously. Tyler inhaled, and this time the sensation was overwhelming. It wasn't just awareness of multiple possibilities. It was as if he could see the quantum structure of reality itself, an infinite lattice of interconnected probabilities. Now, follow my guidance, continued Zeltaris. See the sanctuary world as I show it to you. In his mind's eye, Tyler perceived a blue-green planet surrounded by swirling energy patterns that somehow hid it from conventional detection. He could see the probability fold that Zeltaris had mentioned, a kind of wrinkle in reality that kept the planet separate from normal space. Exhale with absolute certainty that we are there, commanded Zeltaris. Tyler breathed out, focusing every fiber of his being on the sanctuary world. The effort was tremendous. He felt as if he were physically pushing against the fabric of reality itself. The vessel shuddered. Light bent around them in impossible ways. For a moment, Tyler felt as if he were everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Then, with a subtle shifting sensation, they arrived. Below them spread a pristine world, blue oceans, green continents, and white cloud patterns that seemed almost deliberately artistic in their arrangement. Welcome, said Zeltaris with evident satisfaction, to Avalon. Avalon, repeated Tyler. Like from Earth legends? Perhaps not coincidentally, suggested Zeltaris with a smile. My people visited your world many times throughout its history. We may have left more than genetic traces. The vessel descended smoothly toward a city unlike any Tyler had ever seen. Structures that seemed to grow from the landscape rather than being built upon it, all connected by a network of crystalline pathways that glowed with inner light. Are there others of your kind here? Asked Farine, her scientific curiosity evidently overcoming the trauma of their narrow escape. No, replied Zeltaris, a note of sadness entering his voice. I am the last of the original breathers. This sanctuary was maintained by advanced systems, waiting for our return. The vessel settled gently onto a landing platform that seemed to reshape itself to accommodate the ship's dimensions. You can disembark safely, Zeltaris informed the group. The atmosphere is compatible with all your physiologies. As the hull opened, fresh air washed in, sweeter and somehow more invigorating than any Tyler had experienced before. The assembled refugees stepped out cautiously onto the platform, marveling at the impossible city spread before them. What happens now? Asked Captain Lorne, ever practical. Now, said Zeltaris, you have choices. This world can be a temporary refuge while you arrange transport back to your respective homes, or it can be something more. More? Questioned Drazak. A new beginning, explained Zeltaris. A place where knowledge long forgotten can be rediscovered, where the barriers between species might be overcome through understanding. Tyler looked out over the beautiful landscape. And what about me? What happens to me now? Zeltaris turned to him, those color-shifting eyes focused intently on Tyler's face. That, young breather, depends entirely on what you want. Your gift has awakened. It can be developed, strengthened, controlled. To do what? Asked Tyler. To help shape a better future, replied Zeltaris. Not by forcing reality to your will, but by gently encouraging the most beneficial probabilities to manifest. Tyler considered this. A week ago, his biggest concern had been securing a permanent janitorial position after his temporary contract ended. Now he was being offered the chance to learn how to manipulate quantum probability from an ancient being who claimed to be humanity's ancestor. I think, he said slowly, I'd like to learn more. But I also think this power, this breath, it's not something that should belong to just one person or one species. Zaltaris nodded, a pleased expression crossing his face. Spoken like a true breather. The power was never meant to be hoarded, but shared, a common birthright of all sentient life, cultivated through discipline and compassion. So you'll teach others too? Asked Tyler. Those with the capacity, yes, confirmed Zaltaris. The genetic potential exists in varying degrees across many species, an echo of my people's presence throughout the galaxy long ago. Captain Lorne stepped forward. The Galactic Council will want to know about this place, and about this ability. And they shall, promised Zaltaris. But carefully, and in time. Some knowledge must be approached with wisdom first, lest it cause more harm than good. As the group began to explore their new surroundings, Tyler found himself standing beside Zaltaris at the edge of the landing platform, looking out over the impossible city. I'm still just a janitor, Tyler said quietly. I'm not sure I'm ready for all this. Zaltaris smiled. And I was once just a curious explorer who stumbled upon the secrets of quantum probability. None of us begin as what we ultimately become. So what happens next? Asked Tyler. Next, said Zaltaris, placing a companionable hand on Tyler's shoulder. You take a breath. And then another. And with each breath, you help shape what might be into what will be. Tyler did exactly that. He took a deep breath of the sweet air of Avalon, feeling the quantum possibilities swirling around him like invisible currents. As he exhaled, he focused on a simple wish, that whatever came next would be a beginning rather than an end. Somewhere in the probability matrix of reality, something shifted in response. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.